First things first, we got posters.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah. Let's just do it like this for the rest of the review. Man, I missed the first 2 seconds of this review. Which one's which? I was very worried when we got these posters. I'm used to, like, getting posters for movies that turn out to be really, really bad. Here you go, sir. Complimentary identical poster. Yeah, thanks. I mean, genuinely,
which is the one that
you,
like, found in the trash?
That was the loft. That was, I didn't find it in the trash. I think Dave and Brian did when they were at something else, and they handed it to the back seat to me and Sarah, and Sarah's like, "Where'd you find it?" It's like, "Oh, it was just in the trash." And then Sarah saved the Hot Pursuit poster from the trash to give to Dave as an engagement present.
That is some diet soda.
I do get actually, no, this is Coke Zero.
Oh, it tastes really diety.
That's the orange.
What?
That's the orange flavoring.
Oh, okay.
I did get orange flavoring.
That makes more sense now.
No, like, we went to go see it in IMAX, so we got these sweet posters out of the deal. I'm keeping this too.
Hey, I am too. Glows in the dark. It'll scare the shit out of me when I wake up from. You didn't notice that in the theater?
No, I didn't.
It was really cool looking around. Like, everybody had their posters sitting next to them, and they were just like little skulls.
Oh wow! I just thought Baron Smeedy was sitting next to me.
Yeah, no, if you like.
I'll sit you in the back. Sit you right there. I wish there was like a seat back there so I could just stick it up. I was getting messages about this movie all day telling me, well, other than the 1,000 people telling me about God's Not Dead 2, which I knew about that 6 months ago.
1,000, you mean 3?
You're right. I mean 3,000. Actually, I mean like 5 or 6.
Oh, it was 3 when you... It was 3 when you told me about it.
Oh, I got many more since then, like 2 or 3.
Did something related to God's Not Dead 2 happen?
No, I mean, like, oh, you mean why I was getting messaged? I don't know, like,
oh, okay.
I have no idea, like, I don't know if there's a new trailer for it or what, but I got a trailer for that in front of Woodlawn. I was getting messages about this all day telling me, like, prepare for disappointment about Spectre.
Oh, I dug it a lot.
I love this movie. I did. I'm starting to notice a trend now with these Bond movies where one comes out, everyone says it's great, another one comes out, they're remembering the one that was great, so they're disappointed by the other one, and then the third one comes out, and then people remembering the disappointing one are like, wow, this one's really great. And then this one is following Skyfall, so people are saying it's very, very disappointing. Which, to be fair, Quantum of Solace is, like, it's not bad, it's okay. But in this day and age, a movie can't just simply be okay. It's either a masterpiece or a piece of shit.
I think the only thing that I found disappointing compared to Skyfall, and not even all that disappointing, just like when the credits scene happened, like, I really loved the song Adele did called Skyfall.
The song in this movie sounded like a guy in the shower singing the theme to this movie.
I mean, it's Sam Smith, so...
I'm not familiar.
Oh, he did, that, like, stay with me, 'cause you're all I need. You don't listen to pop music?
Well, yeah, from, like,
1967.
1967.
Well, he's not from 1967. He's actually from 1968.
Oh! Well, that'd be around when, like, Louis Armstrong did the James Bond theme. 1969.
Yeah, it's shocking that Sam Smith was passed over for Louis Armstrong.
It was. That'd be weird. We have all the time in the world! Boo.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't hate it. I don't know.
The theme?
Yeah, and I don't really hate Sam Smith either. I mean, I've heard vague things about him as a person, but I don't even remember specifically what those are. But as far as his music and as far as that Stay With Me song, I don't hate it. It's definitely not my favorite song in the world, but, like, it really did not, like, I heard Skyfall on the radio, like, not even in, and I was just kind of like, everyone needs to stop because this song is literally giving me chills.
The Skyfall theme?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Skyfall theme.
Oh god, it's so good.
I do. I don't know if I would consider this to be one of the great James Bond movies. But I'm a Bond freak. My friends and I get drunk and talk James Bond all hours of the night. If we're not talking James Bond, we're talking Batman. And then in between there, we go up to the jukebox and play Baltimora. It's like a whole thing. So I guarantee you, me and Josh Sanders will probably be, next time we're drinking, we'll probably be talking about this movie. I mean, I've just seen this movie. I don't know if I would necessarily consider this to be one of the great James Bond movies, but where I'm at on Bond is that not every James Bond movie needs to be the great James Bond movie. Like, it's okay for Bond movies to be just simply fun, just entertaining. For me, the worst thing that a Bond movie could be isn't that it's not a masterpiece or anything like that. The worst thing a Bond movie could be is boring.
That's the worst thing a movie could be to me. Like, generally speaking, that's the worst thing that a movie can be. I'm pretty sure there's reviews where, like, you really didn't like a movie, and I was like, well, I wasn't bored, so I gotta give it props for that.
Yeah, I mean...
my first review on the site, that's pretty
Genesis?
much what it was, yeah.
Oh my god. I don't know if I was bored at Genesis because I was so mad.
That other girl who was terrible at reviewing things.
Oh, you're
totally
fine.
wasn't me. It just wasn't a very good first review. It was
There's plenty of reviews where I'm like, Sarah, do you mind taking this? I've got nothing to say. Like Ender's Game or something like that. I feel like
if Faith of Our Fathers would have been my first review, there would have been a lot less backlash.
Oh, you always got to start with something terrible. Those are the easiest ones to do. I mean, I could talk about this because it's James Bond, but like, so, the Bond movies that are generally even considered to be the worst, like View to a Kill or Moonraker or things like that, I can still watch those because, objectively speaking, are they among the worst? Certainly. But at the end of the day, you got Max Zorn and Mayday standing there. You got Christopher Walken shooting down a bunch of fucking mine workers and then flying around in a giant Zeppelin. You got a sex scene with Roger Moore and Grace Jones. You can't pass that up. Like, I will take that over my least favorite James Bond movie, which objectively isn't saying like it is all accounts just the worst. It's because it's boring. It, for me, is For Your Eyes Only. It's boring. Like, it just is. Like, at that point in Roger Moore's Bond career, he shouldn't have done serious Bond, which is kind of what that movie is. It kind of like takes some of the camp out, which at that point was really what was carrying the Roger Moore ones. Like, maybe that could have worked earlier in Roger Moore's Bond career, but not in 1981, when it's sandwiched in between Moonraker and Octopussy. I don't mind just having a fun Bond movie. Which to me is what this one was. Like, there was a lot of things that I appreciated about this that, not saying that I think this is a better movie than Skyfall or Casino Royale, because it's probably not, but I like that this really kind of felt like one that I'm used to seeing with my dad. Like, kind of grew up watching with my dad. It reminded me... Daniel Craig gets compared to Timothy Dalton a lot, which I think is really apt, because he really is kind of modeled after Timothy Dalton's James Bond. For me, that's a compliment. Timothy Dalton, I think, is one of the best James Bonds. Timothy Dalton, he just brought it back to being just, this guy is an assassin. He's a stone cold fucking killer. But Timothy Dalton also had that suave fucking Errol Flynn mannerisms to him, which was really cool. And Daniel Craig really gets the darkness down, really gets the gritty side of it, and this guy's a fucking killer. I think that Timothy Dalton is suave and can be a little more humorous than Daniel Craig was, but those other Daniel Craigs were a little darker than the Timothy Dalton ones, but the Timothy Dalton ones were still fucking dark. This movie, I thought, to me, it was kind of like if a Daniel Craig movie was reminiscent more, if like a Daniel Craig movie was like a late Sean Connery, early Live and Let Die Roger Moore, or honestly even like some of the Dalton ones, because this one has more humor in it. Not that those were necessarily humorous, but they had more humor to them than some of the Daniel Craig ones. So I like that. To me, this movie was kind of funny.
It was definitely funny at parts.
Yeah, there were things about it that reminded me of some of the late Connery ones. Whether it's James Bond falling off a building and landing on a couch.
That's what I was gonna say. That was the part I probably laughed hardest.
That was hilarious. Or really suave, cool moments like when he ejects out of the car and parachutes onto the street and just says "Good evening" as he's walking by, and people are looking like, "What the fuck?" And that Dave Bautista is in this, basically totally playing like a Bond villain henchman of like kind of the classic kind. It's like a Connery-esque Bond villain henchman, but in the Daniel Craig universe, because you have Dave Bautista as this big motherfucker who doesn't say much in this movie, hardly anything at all, and he has this gimmick of just crushing people's heads, and there's this amazing fight sequence on the train where really you're just kind of hearing just the sound effects of just the train going by, and they're just whooping the shit out of each other.
Yeah, his first scene, he like walks into a room and he's got like pointy fingered things on his thumbs, and they're like, "Why do you think you're more well suited than this guy?" And the guy like looks at him and he just picks him up and just into his eyes.
Yeah, snaps his neck. He goes to crush Bond's head later. Bond doesn't die. Spoiler. So, alright, actually,
I was kind of sad there wasn't more with the thumb things. It was really wince-worthy, but it was good. I don't know.
Kind of like how with, like, Odd Job, you really only saw him, like, break somebody's neck with the hat once. Yeah. I mean, he throws it a few times, but he gets, Tilly Masterson on the back of the neck with it. And cuts off that statue's head. So yeah, it really, and plus if he was just plucking out eyeballs in this movie, it might have gotten an R.
Yeah.
That's where it gets into Timothy Dalton territory, where you're writing that R rating, man. Like, fuck, the DVD of License to Kill, like, is the R-rated cut of License to Kill that had to be trimmed down, like, in 1989. But so, when they're just beating the shit out of each other, Bautista gets like a fucking chain wrapped around his neck that's attached to these like fucking like beer kegs, and he kicks one out the window, Bond does, and just one is falling after the other, one is falling out the other. Cut to Dave Bautista, who's a shit. Fucking falls right out of the goddamn train. Cut to sex scene. Okay.
Well, I'm a fucking klutz.
Sorry for the jump scare again. I guess that scared people last time when the fucking thing fell down.
Yeah, I hadn't watched the review yet, and I'm like, did you just, like, insert a jump scare in there? Because that was a dick move.
At first I was like, did the audio spike somewhere? I don't know. Maybe I'll just cut it out of this so it doesn't scare people again. But, the footage should be recovered on there. I don't know. Whatever. So, where were we? Oh,
the sex scene.
The sex scene, obviously. So then cut to sex scene. That's what I mean. It's like, this is like kind of like a Connery early Roger Moore one that's in like the Daniel Craig universe. Hell, you have a world domination plot, more or less, because this movie introduces Blofeld into it, which Christoph Waltz plays Blofeld, which is perfect casting. If there was one thing that would be very disappointing to me about this movie, it would be if they did, like, tried fooling you and they made you think Christoph Waltz was Blofeld, but then it turned out to be, like, some other guy. I was almost worried about that happening, because I was like, please don't, because this is really perfect casting. And they don't. He plays Blofeld. When he first shows up, when the movie is eyes wide shut for about 10 minutes, there's a part where he finds out where they're holding this super secret meeting with Spectre and Blofeld and everything. So he goes in there. It's the part you see in the trailer. And it's oddly reminiscent of Eyes Wide Shut, sort of. Just if Tom Cruise didn't go in there on orgy night and instead he went on accounting night.
Yeah, that's also the scene with the thumbs.
Yeah, that's the scene where the guy... So... That was pretty cool.
The guy had kind of a weird underreaction to it, though. I don't know, like, it was, like, maybe it was to keep it away from, like, the R rating, but, like, it kind of sounded like the same thing, like, the same sound someone might make if you, like, accidentally close their hand in a door. You're just kind of like, oh!
Well, they kind of make reference to that, like, in one of the scenes where you walked out.
Oh, okay.
Like, Blofeld mentions something to him about, like, that space you're in where you're alive, you're technically alive, and you're not technically dead yet, and you're just kind of silent. He kind of makes a reference to that a little bit. You did miss like half of this movie.
I missed like 10 minutes.
Yeah, probably. You missed the scene with the needles.
Yeah, that sounds like a scene I really wanted to be there for.
There is a torture scene in this movie involving needles. Which, yeah, Daniel Craig gets tortured a lot in these movies, between the needles and between getting his junk beaten with fucking rope. I will say this. Oh, sorry. Oh, I thought you were about to say something.
Oh, no,
I'm used to interrupting people on here.
No, I was just, I was gonna comment that he gets around an awful lot for someone who got his junk, like, seriously fucked up.
It's James Bond. He was hospitalized for, like, a week after that.
I wasn't saying, like, that's completely unrealistic. I'm just kind of like, he must really get the job done if after...
Well, yeah, he's 007.
Well, yeah.
No, it has to do with a world domination plot, basically, in which all of the terrorism that we've seen in Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, hell, Mr. White comes back in this movie. And in Skyfall as well, all the stuff we've seen in that has basically been orchestrated by this syndicate that's run by Blofeld, who has created all this terrorism, so that way they can essentially make the 00 program obsolete and replace it with like a spying agency. Well, meaning like so that they can keep surveillance on everything. And I mean, that's predictable. I mean, you know right away that when the C character shows up.
Who was Moriarty from Sherlock.
Oh, is that who that was?
Yeah, the BBC
okay.
Sherlock, not Elementary. Yeah, Andrew Scott.
Well, I knew it wasn't Lucy Liu. Oh, wait, that's
not Moriarty.
That's Watson, right?
Yeah. No,
right.
It's Moriarty from BBC Sherlock, which, like, I have a mixed relationship with BBC Sherlock, but Moriarty is definitely not one of those things I have mixed opinions about.
Sure.
He's good. Like, Andrew Scott is a very intimidating dude. I honestly kind of wish he would have had more intimidating scenes in this, because he's really good.
He's got the eyes
creepy.
for it.
Oh, yeah. When he first showed up, I'm like, if you don't have him do something at least remotely sinister, I'm gonna be sad, because this dude is good at being sinister as fuck.
Yeah. I mean, he because of his eyes. And honestly, even if he didn't have kind of intimidating eyes, it's pretty easy to figure out right away that this guy is probably going to turn out to be a villain by the end of it. But I'm not one of those people who's like, ugh, this movie was too predictable. Bravo, you figured out a Bond movie.
Yeah, I mean, like, even if it wasn't Moriarty, I think I would have figured it out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as soon as he showed up, I'm kind of like, this guy plays villains. Like, it kind of reminds me of the time you were talking about in, like, 24, where you're like, yes, it was shocking that this actor was playing a villain.
Julian Sands, maybe?
I think
Although I don't know if
yeah.
that was supposed to be a twist. I can't remember. I've tried to forget 24. Although I was reminded of it a little bit watching this movie when, like, there is the unit that's coming in to try to make the 00 unit obsolete, which they did that on 24 all the time, and I'm like, oh, please don't make this into, like, fucking 24. They don't.
No.
Thank God! I had a problem with Quantum of Solace feeling more like a Bourne movie than a Bond movie, but I still thought Quantum of Solace was okay. Casino Royale and Skyfall are both way fucking better. And this, I just, at the end of the day, I just thought this was really entertaining. This was, to me, was the kind of movie between scarred up Blofeld and his cat fucking sitting there on a helicopter waiting for the building to explode with James Bond in it, with the humor, like, with James Bond, like, pointing a gun at a rat and, like, interrogating him. There's a rat that crawls across the floor, and I think you were out of the theater when this happened. And he pulls his gun on it, and he's like, "Tell me what you know," or something like that. And there's really funny stuff like that in it.
What does the rat say?
The rat, like, well, actually, the rat really helped him out, because the rat ran into a rat hole in the wall, and that's how James Bond figured out that that's where the Mr. White's, like, secret hiding place was.
Oh, okay. Good on you, rat.
You missed the part where, like, when Blofeld came back, Blofeld's in it, like, a little bit at the beginning, and then he comes back towards the end. He doesn't make as grand of an entrance as, like, say, Javier Bardem in Skyfall, but it's still pretty cool. Like, there is by grand entrance, I mean when he kind of reappears later, when it's in front of this, like, meteor that's set up in this room, and they have this, like, back and forth with each other, and he's wearing this blazer that's not unlike that kind of top that you'd usually see Blofeld wearing. So anyway, when at the beginning of it, when he's just kind of, his face is just masked in shadow, it's a really eerie scene. Between just this meeting that they're having back and forth, and Bond watching them, and him knowing that James Bond is up there watching him, and then starts directly talking to James Bond, but without looking at him. It's cool. It's shot really well, and it is odd. They put some good music. They put some good music in there, and it's Christoph Waltz playing Blofeld. That's pretty great. Yeah, he plays Blofeld actually kind of not unlike his character in Inglourious Bastards, but right on, awesome. And I like the scar that they put down his face.
I did too at the end when he's like crawling across the ground, and he keeps like wincing, but he doesn't really have like eyelids anymore. So
yeah. Yeah. And
there was a lot of eye shit in this.
He's got a clear contact in his eye now. Bravo, man. Those things are hard to put in.
I wear purple ones sometimes.
It's true. I can't do contacts. Like, I tried with, I don't mind wearing glasses, but I tried putting in a clear contact for a hooker with a heart of gold. For when I was Steel, originally it was written to where one of his eyes was just dead, and we tried so hard to get, like, I had a contact, we tried so hard to get it in, and my eye just, it instinctively just wants to shut every time my finger comes close, and it got to the point to where I'm like, even if I get this in, I can't do this every single time. So at the last minute, we went out and got an eye patch. I guess that didn't happen with Christoph Waltz in this. He doesn't just show up with an eye patch. And when he's crawling away at the end, I was like, I don't want him to get killed off. Like, I hope they don't do that. I was
sad that Andrew Scott's character got killed off, actually.
I figured that was gonna happen.
I did too, but I was still sad because he didn't get to be creepy. I'll have to show you some of his scenes from Sherlock, because he does creepy really well. There's a scene where, like, there's a scene where, like, apparently, I don't know, this is, like, a really weird one. This is, like, even though I like the way that he does this scene, like, it's one of the things where I'm like, sometimes the Sherlock universe makes no sense. But, like, there's a scene where Sherlock is in a cab and thinks he's escaped him, and then on, like, a TV screen, it shows that he's, like, running a children's show. Yeah. And it's just, like, really unnerving.
Wow.
Which, like, how the fuck he got, like, he apparently went and got a children's show for that exact moment just to creep Sherlock out. Why
not?
I think I might have missed like a season of Sherlock. I don't really like my old roommate, and my best friend. Like she really likes Sherlock, so we watched a lot when we lived together. But since we stopped living together, I'm not really caught up on it. I don't hate the show, but I don't love the show either. It definitely has its issues. Maybe that was supposed to be like he just recorded a creepy video when he's not actually a children's show host. But oh yeah, and then like at the end of a season that he wasn't even like in, he like takes over like television broadcasting, and it's like this really creepy scene where he's like, "Did you miss me? Did you miss me? Did you miss me?" But it's like animated weird, like his mouth. I don't know.
I guarantee more people in the comments will be talking about your opinions of Sherlock.
They probably will.
The fuck you got against Sherlock?
There's gonna be, I guarantee you, there's gonna be equal amounts of, what the fuck do you mean you don't like Sherlock all that much? And like, oh my god, your girlfriend watches Sherlock? Ew.
I doubt anyone will say that.
No, like there's like
well,
an
unless
equal...
they're just being a smartass and literally writing that out.
No, like there's like an equal portion of like fandom and hatedom for Sherlock.
For Sherlock? I don't know. I haven't really seen it. I've seen the Guy Ritchie movies.
I feel like watching Sherlock has become like synonymous with Tumblr. It's the same thing if I said I watched like Supernatural.
I've seen one episode of that.
Which one?
The pilot.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw the pilot of that and was like, this is fine. I can't see myself watching, like, even if I loved the pilot, I'd be like, man, this is like 10 seasons worth of shit. I don't know if I got the time for this. Also, I fucking hated, Dean was my least favorite character on Gilmore Girls.
Well, now his brother's name is Dean, and his name is Sam.
Yeah, but there's still the word Dean in there, and the actor playing Dean. Ugh, he's a good actor. Fuck Dean. I like Logan better than Dean. At least Logan could be charming. Team Jess, basically, is what I'm saying.
He dates a girl named Jess in Supernatural.
Does he really? Yeah. Well, that would be a really huge Gilmore Girls twist.
Very quickly.
Man, yeah, that actually would have solved a lot of problems on Gilmore Girls if Dean and Jess just banged.
Sure, there's fan fiction on it.
Oh, I'm sure. There's fan fiction about, there's fan fiction about, like, me and Angry Joe fucking in an elevator. Like, me and Lewis joined the Mile High Club on one of them. There's one where Film Brain sneaks into my house and ties me up. He doesn't have sex with me, but he steals my food. You bastard! I'd rather you have sex with me!
Oh, that's gonna be taken out of context.
Alright, I recommend the movie. I mean, if you're one of those where you can't just have fun at a movie, then don't go to movies. Or if you're that person who wrote that Cracked article a week ago that was like, the things that happen in Bond movies that the producers want you to forget about. And, like, I don't know.
I feel like that's... like, the person who wrote that Cracked article probably doesn't even feel that way.
Here's a sample sentence where it's like, her name is Pussy Galore, because God forbid you give her a real name. Oh, blow me! Don't watch James Bond movies, and certainly don't fucking write about them!
I love that they apparently think that, like, whoever wrote that sat down and was like, what is a very common woman's name? Pussy. Like,
at least it's from the book. I don't know what a better name, like that, or Holly Goodhead, or Xenia on a top. Complaining about bad names in a Bond movie is like going into a Bond movie and complaining that it's got puns. Yeah, I don't like that he's got an accent.
The American, I can't remember the first name that they gave Francine in the American Dad version, but her last name is literally Sex Pun. Yeah, right?
I think this is just a fun movie. Like, I could picture, like, it was just entertaining. You've got ski slopes in this. There's a plane going down the fucking mountainside and crashing through buildings and shit. It was just entertaining. And if I were to do a list of like the 5 best Bond movies, this probably wouldn't be on there, but that's fine. I'm fine with watching a Bond movie and just having a really, really good time. My favorite Bond movie is On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Not every Bond movie has to be On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Some can just be a really fucking good time. This movie was really good at being a good time. And this movie is 2.5 hours long. And honestly, normally I would say, like, you really should reserve that length for the great James Bond movies. But this movie, in my opinion anyway, didn't feel 2.5 hours long.
No, it didn't. I have a very short attention span.
Yeah. Could this movie have technically been shorter? Probably. But it didn't feel long. I was never bored at this movie, which is, like I said, what to me is the worst sin that a Bond movie could do. It doesn't get as, like, fucking stupid as, like, View to a Kill or Moonraker or Die Another Day or something like that, but I'd recommend it if you're, you know, a Bond freak and you like different Bond movies for different reasons depending on what kind of mood you're in. Of course, see it. Yeah, why wouldn't you?
I just now realized the girl from the beginning is either, like, still waiting for Bond to get back after he, like, walked out the window when they were about to have sex, or she may have died in a building collapse.
Maybe that's the post-credit scene. Ordering a lot of room service on his bank card. You got any final thoughts?
I have mixed feelings on Supernatural, and you would rather have sex with Matthew than have him eat your food? Because that's what people are going to take from this review.
Well, yeah, because, like, at least if me and Matthew have sex, I don't have to go out afterwards and buy $80 more worth of groceries.
You might work up an appetite.
I'm not going to eat $80 worth of shit. In fact, I'll just have a cigarette. See ya.